What is up, family? Welcome into another edition of Make Every Second Count Live. With me, your host, and international award winning Make Every Second Count speaker. Now, I am so pumped up. I know. I'm always pumped up, but I really am tonight. We have a very, very, very special guest. And I am definitely thankful to have her on the show tonight. And we're not actually live. We're pre-recording this episode on Monday night because she had something come up for Tuesday night. And hey, I had to just cooperate with her because she's so important. But I ask you guys if you would please give us all kinds of thumbs up, hearts, frowny faces, cry faces. You can even get mad at us. I don't care. Just help us trick the algorithm on any of the socials that we're on. Also, keep the comments coming. We want to have more of a conversation than just a presentation. So I appreciate the comments. Also, I want to add that I'm a little under the weather. I keep losing my voice on and off, and it goes and comes back at strange times. So I'm sorry, but you'll have to bear with me for a minute sometimes. But with no further ado, I would like to bring Miss Abigail to the stage. Hey, Abby,
Hey guys.
how are you?
Hey, I'm
That's good.
good. I'm just winging it, this thing called life, and loving almost every minute of it. Making every second count. So thank you for having me on the show.
For sure. And I have to say that I realize that some moments might get difficult, and that's fine. But you only have to hang on to those moments for as long as you want to. If you
Yeah.
don't want to let them affect your entire day, then don't. It's totally up to you. So, if you guys don't know, my story is when I was 17, I was in a life altering car accident. I spent 2.5 months in a coma and 3.5 in the hospital. I was told I would never walk again. But guess what? I'm walking. And I am so excited about that. But I've learned some things since going through that whole journey. And I learned that we have to grow through a lot of things and not just go through things. So, Abigail, has there been anything in your life that you have had to grow through?
Wow. Yeah. I followed your story. For a few years, we had originally met at a speaking conference a few years ago. And following your story, it has been so inspiring over the years. I just wanted to add that little tidbit in. But grow through. I mean, mine is very it's it's never just one thing, right? It's never just one thing. I lost my mother at a young age, and so losing her at a young age, I was almost 19 years old, and so I had gone through just a deep depression with that, and I had to figure out, okay, am I gonna, like you said, am I gonna mentally be stuck here, or am I going to figure out what's next for my life? And then having a child with special needs, it was one of those things where I had to adapt and grow and figure out what worked best for my family, my kids. Everyone has an opinion of how you should do things or what you should do. And growing through those moments that in the moment they feel completely like you don't have a lot of control. I think that the growth was figuring out different ways to find control in uncontrollable situations.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, you were talking a little bit about the loss of your mother, and I also experienced that in 2016. Actually, it was right after I found out that I was going to be in a book, my first ever book. And I was so excited. I came home and I told my mom, and we got to celebrating. And then a couple days later, she passed away. And that was one of the toughest things that I had ever dealt with. But I made it through that. I came out the other side stronger. Is that something that you found that you came out of that experience stronger?
I definitely can relate to that. Finding purpose in my pain is what I like to say it as, and like for my experience with my mom, it was a lot that came after her death. Within 6 months, I had or I found out I was pregnant with my first child, and it was a little girl. And so tons of emotions tied to that. Tons of emotions just being tied to I was still a kid, and not it's only been 11 years, but sometimes it just feels like it was yesterday. But I think that for me, it was like having like my mom passed away in September, at the end of September, and my birthday is in November. And I remember celebrating the first birthday without her, just having that real raw realization that like nobody else on this planet cares about me the same way she did. Not one person. And like they might love me in different ways, but your creator, your mother, she's your portal from, in my religion, like she's what birthed you. And to have that gone, it was a real sense of like I had lost a huge piece of me. And then, again, I'm spiritual, so God giving me a child, a little girl, within a year of my mom's passing, was huge. That was huge for me, to where I had to then learn how to be this completely different thing. And it's actually funny, we joke about it now. My oldest is 10 years old, and they say that you get your raising tenfold. And me and my daughter are very like, banter back and forth and arguments and all the above. And I'm like, oh my God, I wish my mom was here to just, like experience this with me so she could laugh. And so I just always think she's just up there like giggling and laughing at all of the little experiences, because she also, my older brother is special needs too. And so I grew up in a home where special needs community was like really a part of our roots. And then to have my own child with special needs, it's, it's eye opening. It's being able to like sit in that and be like, like I didn't know everything. I used to be so judgmental towards my mom, towards the decisions that she made on our account and what she did for us and how she did it. And it's just super critical. And then if God will do anything, and I can attest to this, is like he will put you in that same situation that you're judging. And that's exactly what he did. I went from thinking I could do everything better than my mom to now I communicate with her and talk with her and just say, you were right about this one, like, and just be able to smile about it now. I know that it took significant time for me to get to that healing point where it wasn't as painful, but being able to like take that purpose and help my kids see a different perspective of me is, I think, been really huge for us.
That's very enlightening, and you've shown how much you actually grew through that experience. I love the way you worded that. So I know you were actually talking about your daughter there and her
Mhm.
being special needs. When did you find out she was special needs?
We found out the day she was born. So the very day she was born, she came out and she was blue, right? So 50% of kids with Down syndrome have heart defects, and she was in that 50% pool. And so she had come out and she looked like a Smurf, and just a little chunky thing, big head, big body, but she was like a blue tint. And then the nurse just kind of looked at me and then looked, and she just kind of was like super puzzled. And then she went and got a nurse that looked like she had more experience, And the charge nurse came in. I assume that's who that was. The nurse that was in charge of the floor came in and she said, "Has anyone told you that your child may have Down syndrome?" And I was like, "No, nobody's told us that." Like we had multiple ultrasounds, we had all of this through Shawnee Mission Medical. Like no one let us know that. And then they said, "Well, we're going to do a blood test, but I have been doing this for a significant amount of years, and there are characteristics that your child would have Down syndrome." And I was in such denial. I was like, "No, my older daughter looks like that, the almond eyes, the puffy cheeks." Like I was just showing nurses after, not immediately after I gave birth, but time went by, and it took about 2 days for the blood test to come in. And in those 2 days, the nurse that they brought in was actually a mom that had a Down syndrome mom. And so she came in and, she was trying to comfort me in different times when I was like, I kind of wanted to accept it just because that's how I am. I'm like, oh, like, what if they are right? And I had some really good conversations with her where she was like, it's okay to grieve the healthy child that you thought you were going to have. It's okay that that's a totally normal experience to just grieve that. But we didn't find out till the day of. So then everything changed in a day.
Yeah. And what was it like finding out that news? I mean, was it life shattering to you at the time, or did you accept it, or how did you take that news?
So like I said, at first it was definitely I was hardcore core in denial. Like the first couple of days. So because of her heart issues, we were in the hospital for about a week and a half when she was first born. And I processed. I'm still today working on where I'm like actually breaking down and processing things and giving myself more time and grace to do that. But at that stage, I was still pretty young. I was like 24, and so I processed the denial, and then the blood test came back, and I accepted that she had Down syndrome, and then I was kind of shattered in a way because I knew my world. Like at that time, I was going to school. I wanted to be a lawyer, and so I just thought that everything that I had planned out, it was all going to change because then this meant that because was born with heart issues and some other health concerns, it was just going to be. I mean, we went to the doctor for the first 8 months of her life 4 times a week. We had the special care clinic. We had, the OT, the PT. We had all these different clinics. And at the time she was born, we lived an hour and 20 minutes away.
Wow.
So it was a complete thing where it's like, okay, well, number one, how are we going to afford 2 kids? And the father of my kids at the time, I mean, he made like $15 an hour, and so it wasn't in my mind. I'm just freaking out. I'm like, how am I going to do this? How am I going to provide for them?
Yeah, wow. That has to be a tough thing to have to deal with when you're 24. I mean, you're just a kid at 24. And
Oh
I
yeah.
I realize that you're actually an adult, but you're still a kid at 24. I mean,
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. You get, and I'm gonna be 32 this year, and so now it's like
it,
that felt like a whole. I'm still a kid, yeah. I still got lots of years on me, but to look back 8 years later, and you're like, wow, your mindset changes, and everything just changes over a period of times if you allow it to. I think if you allow it to.
yeah. So, what is it like now having a daughter with special needs? I mean, if you could go back and redo things with God or whatever, with the universe or whatever you want to say, would you do that?
Would I replace Isabel with something else? No.
No.
There's not a chance, and that's just who I am. Again, I grew up in the special needs community, so I know that they just have special needs, and Isabel is no different. There are certain moments that she needs extra attention. She needs extra resources. And those are just things that, like, I'm really big on what school district will we go to because of the special needs program, and what is she learning? I don't want a babysitter. And and so everything comes with challenges, and it's another just thing that we joke about to get by. But like my older child that is atypical, that was born with not any mental delays or anything, she's really the hard one, like she's has her own special needs and arguments and stuff. And so raising kids in general is hard, and I'm not trying to like downplay the different needs that Isabel has, because she has her moments and she has her extra expenses. It is definitely a lot more expensive to have a special needs child than it would be to just have a typical child. I spend $100 a week on diapers.
Yeah.
So
So what kind of adjustments did you have to make in your own life to be able to live the lifestyle that she needed?
well, where I started was I kind of like put together I wrote down things that really mattered, that I needed at the time, right? And things have significantly changed over time. Her needs, as she grew, her needs got different. But the first thing was that there was no way that I was going to be able to financially support us in a comfortable way and do all of the scheduling and all of that stuff. And so I built my own company. I started Treasure Nest in 2018. And in 2018, at first, I opened a store, and then I started doing online estates, and then I started buying truckloads. And that I'm saying it like blah blah, but it was like waves. Like God would give me an opportunity, and I'm like, I gotta take it. I can't afford not to take this opportunity that God is giving me right now. And so whether it worked out or not, it got me one step closer to being comfortable. And so after building that company and kind of seeding with it and putting in long hours and all kinds of stuff that goes into running a business and being a mom, in the wee hours of the night, it morphed into knowledge. And so all of those experiences, it brought me more knowledge on how can I give us a comfortable life better. And so now today, with my 7 streams of income, each one of the stream gives me another opportunity to build or maneuver or kind of work around our life, And so the big thing for me was establishing multiple streams of income, so I'm not reliant on just one.
That is amazing. I know 7 streams of income isn't a easy thing to get. I don't have near 7, so that is pretty awesome. I have to say, great job, Abigail.
Well, thank you. Yeah, and I mean, and I don't want they all, and that's why I say like they're seasonal. So some streams work out better in different seasons of the year. I know that I can go out and do an estate sale or an auction or whatever when it's nice outside. I know that my photography business flourishes in the wintertime. And so they're there. They're in my tool bag or my backpack, and I have them when I need them for me and my kids. But it's just building. Just take the passions, things that you're most passionate about, and figure out how can you utilize that into an income.
So I was doing some research this past week on your purpose because I actually met someone that is running a 501c3, which is a charity. If you don't know, I'm sure you do, but it's all about helping people find their purpose, and it's
Mm-hmm.
because her son actually committed suicide right after they had a talk about his life purpose, and he couldn't figure out his life's purpose. So they said that, well, the research that I was doing on it said that your purpose often relies a lot on your passions.
Mhm.
Is that something you find? And how would you suggest that a person finds their purpose?
I would say yes. I To answer the first question is yes. I think it's very important, especially if I will be vulnerable and tell you guys that I have BPD, and so the waves of emotions was something that I had to control, and I've had to control over the years, and really hone in on my purpose with that. But to be able to find my purpose was I had to inventory myself. I had to sit with myself and inventory the things that I liked and that I didn't. And in that inventory, I figured out my passions. I had always loved having a camera in my hand. And so, you know what? I might not be the best photographer in Kansas City, but I love it. I love every minute of it. I might not be the best auctioneer in Kansas City. And then my purpose with all of my different passions has always been to inspire and uplift. And honestly, like if somebody sees me doing something that I love and it even gives them the little bit of like confidence, hey, she can do it, I can do it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And so, my big grand purpose is just if I can help somebody every single day get a little bit closer to their end goal, their purpose, while living through my purpose, then that's a successful day to me.
That is amazing. I have to say that was a wonderful answer, and I
Thank you.
appreciate that the effort that you put into answering that. I know that question was definitely not on the show script at all. Uh, Actually, a lot of the questions that I throw out to people aren't on the show script because I do the show live, and
Mhm.
I don't know if there's something that comes up and I want to know, I ask it. It's
Yeah, and
kind of
I mean
funny.
that's the beauty of podcasts, I think, though, and what I've with our podcast, the one that me and my co-host, we host every Saturday, and it is pre-recorded because of our hectic schedules. But I found that like when we can just sit there and just talk about life and what's going on and how are we experiencing it, because people are going to experience the same moment in the same room differently every
Yeah,
time, and just to hear someone
perspective.
else's perspective, it's beautiful.
Yeah, that's really cool. I appreciate talking to you about this stuff. So I'm curious though. So let's say somebody out there is going through something. It might be different than you. I mean, they might not be raising a special needs child. They might not be going through 7 businesses figuring out which one they can make money during this season at. But let's say they're having an issue. How
Mhm.
what are 3 suggestions that you would have to help them grow through what they are going through?
Well, whoa, that's I never like to take my spiritual journey and force it on anyone.
Right.
So I can only speak on my own life, and on my own life, I personally believe that God is in control, and that gives me a lot of power. Right? If I know that He's in control of the big things, and that I just need to stay on my aligned path, and so I pray a lot. I pray a lot, and that has become a everyday habit for me. And what that does is that gets my mind focused in on what can I control and what can't I control. The things I cannot control, I pray about. The things that I can control, I go do. The second thing is I would just again taking that inventory of yourself. I learned that in AA, and it's just something that just clicked with me. It was like, okay, if you can inventory your whether whatever it may be, if it's finances, then write down what you're good at making money at and what you're not. I was a server for many years, and when I was serving tables, I was great at talking to people. And it's funny how like all of those pros ended up manifesting into my current career. And then the third
Hold
thing
on.
would just be give yourself grace.
So I think you might have just dropped a huge bomb in there. So, you talked about AA.
Mhm.
Why were you in AA?
So why I started AA was my ex-boyfriend. He struggled with alcoholism and I was trying to be supportive. I also grew up with a brother that was alcoholic, and I at that point, when he was really trying to break that habit, I just wanted to be ultra supportive, and so I wanted to quit everything as well too. But what happened was that my own experience of detoxing and quitting alcohol and anything that was like a toxin to my body, and just being very conscious and clear of what I put in my body, that was a huge game changer for me. Again, I always try to stay away from forcing my beliefs on anyone else. But what I have learned about alcohol is it is bad spirits. And so when you ingest or consume alcohol, you are allowing a portal of bad spirits into your body. And I was depressed. And once I kicked alcohol and really allowed, I also met some really great people in AA. And so that's why I still, I just feel like God puts you in the rooms you're supposed to be in on the day you're supposed to be there. And knowing that, what was it doing for my life? What was it going to benefit my life? It didn't. It wasn't. And so I had to make a conscious and clear decision that if something was in my life that was not going to benefit me or my children, or add to us, definitely nothing inside of our box that was going to take away from the alignment and the focus of where we need to be. It was gone. It was done. And so I've been sober for June 10th, 2023.
Wow.
And I'll be completely honest, there was, I went into a fashion show and I had one night. I went to a fashion show. I had one night where I slipped up, and I was like, I wanted to celebrate with everybody, and I was like, oh, it's just gonna be one drink. And the guilt and shame that I felt, because I felt like my body was depleted the next day. I felt completely, like everything just wasn't great, and so my date had to start over. I had to start over again, but it was totally worth it for me. Like, I didn't just allow that shame and how I felt to be like, okay, well, I'm gonna go back to drinking socially now. No, I was the opposite. I was like, you know what? That was enough of an experience for me to reseal that this isn't for me. This isn't what I want for my life, and so I just completely stopped it.
Wow. That is brave. I that is admirable. I tell you what, it really is. So
Thank you. Yeah.
I know that I kind of interrupted your flow in there about you were speaking about the three ways for people to get past grow through the things they're growing through, and your
Mhm.
first one was you
Pray.
pray a lot and you're very spiritual. So, we're running low on time here, but so if you could quickly give us two more little nuggets there so people can learn how they can grow through what they're going through.
I would say either prayer or lock in with a higher power. Okay, that's number one. Number two is be able to take a inventory of yourself, your mind, your spirit, your body. What's working, what's not. Cut out anything that is not. You should be dieting, and not in a food sense, but in a spiritual or awakening sense. Diet, and then the third thing is give yourself time and grace. I think a lot of times I talked about, the shame of backslipping or going back to comfortable habits and things like that. And people will just say, I messed up, I'm done. I'm not gonna continue on this journey because I've already messed up. That's not true. You can start again tomorrow. You can start again right now. And so for me, those are my three. If I stay and know where I'm at and what I'm doing, then just locking in with yourself is changing. You can change whatever you want if you can mentally control that.
fantastic advice. But
Thank
I
you.
have one other question here before I let
Okay.
you go. And that is, what exactly does make every second count mean to you?
To me, make every second count. It means that you were given today for a reason, and you may only have today. And so, whatever you're feeling in today, you should be present for it. And so, to make every second count was just be present in your own life. And I know sometimes it's easy to, lock in and be on autopilot, but be present in your life and make every second count.
Fabulous answer. I thank you so much. I know that wasn't on the show script either, but
That's okay.
hey,
I love it. I love this.
why
Yeah.
not? So, but I need you, Abigail, and everybody else out there to do me a favor this week, next week, and for the rest of your life. You have to make every second count. Why? Because you never know when those seconds will run out on your one life.
Yeah.
I'll see you guys back here next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And until then, you have a fantastic week. Thank you so much, Abigail. I appreciate you being so open with us.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate you having me. I really do. Yep.
It was fun.
It was fun. And until next time.
Yep. See you later.